Hello and welcome. I am DEJI360. Now, the international manhunt for the Chibok schoolgirls is still on. The US, UK, France, Israel, China, and a host of other countries are helping out in the search and rescue operation. But so far, nothing significant has turned up. The girls have been under Boko Haram captivity now for over a month, and there's still no trace of where they are being held. As at Thursday, 77 of the girls had been identified in the video Boko Haram released showing the girls in captivity. The Borno state government had actually arranged for parents, classmates, and some school officials to view the video and identify some of the girls. The government says the process would continue until all the girls in the video are identified. Now, from every indication, the National Assembly will approve the extension of the state of emergency being sought by President Goodluck Jonathan. The House of Representatives has already given its approval after listening to a compelling argument from the service chiefs. The Senate is due to give its own verdict next week. So it wouldn't be until next week before we know whether the Senate would approve the state of emergency for the president, but it appears that would surely happen. And now, after so much criticism, President Jonathan finally scheduled a visit to Chibok on Friday, May 16th. Everything had been set for the trip when it was suddenly called off for security concerns. The president has never been to Chibok since the girls were kidnapped. Now, the biggest topic in the country today, as far as the kidnap of the Chibok girls goes, is whether or not the government should consider negotiating with Boko Haram for the release of the girls. The issue is generating heated controversy, and the government has not been very categorical about it, I should say. Now, a British minister told newsmen that the president has said the government would not negotiate with Boko Haram. But shortly after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting, here's what Information Minister Labaran Mako told newsmen.
Government has made it very clear that we are ready to go to any length to secure the release of these our unfortunate daughters that have been in captivity. So I think that is the statement that we have issued, and we stand on that statement. All other statements that have been made variously from different groups should be discontinuous.
Labaran Mako, Nigeria's information minister there. Now, you could describe his speech there as a very open-ended one. But I spoke to a security expert, Dr. Onai Komo, about this issue, and here's what he said.
I don't believe Boko Haram for a moment that they will in fact keep their word, and that if their fighters were released, that they will keep their word. I don't believe that, not for one moment. So I certainly, if I were advising the federal government, I wouldn't advise them to even take that into consideration. I think there are several things that might have prompted that video. First of all, all the uproar around the world about this. Boko Haram is also feeling the heat. And then the fact that we have foreign technical advisors here, that means they know that within a short time, like Mr. President said, they will be detected, their locations will be detected. And that means they are going to probably face the wrath of the military. So I think it's probably a self-preservation mechanism on their part, trying to say, okay, let us negotiate, so that it will be that we try to negotiate and they are not negotiating. Because I think the bottom line is we need our girls back, you know, and that's really what it is. So I don't think that Boko Haram is an honest broker. I don't think they are people who should be dealt with. But if they say they have the girls, they want to talk, then let's talk. Because there are some things here. The girls are not combatants. The girls are innocents who were seized against their will. So you can't say you want a prisoner exchange. If you have Nigerian soldiers in your camp, if you have Nigerian soldiers who are being held prisoner of war on your side, you can batter those ones for your own prisoners. But you cannot take innocence from a school, from their dorms, and now come and say, okay, free our fighters, people whose hands are dripping with blood, and then we'll give you this innocence. It doesn't work like that. So I urge the federal government to stay its course, to pursue these killers and terrorists, and then, give them their just deserts.
Well, let's take a short break now. When we come back, a retired military general weighs in with his opinion on this issue. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions. Welcome back. Earlier on the program, retired Brigadier General Otu Oviemo of Vaje, a medical doctor, joined me in the studio to speak on the insurgency and whether the government should consider negotiating with Boko Haram. He also has something to say about what the government should do for the girls when they're eventually rescued. I really don't know whether to call you a Brigadier General or call you a doctor, but let me just say Brigadier General Doctor, you're welcome on the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you're a medical doctor, but you're also a military man. You were in the military for several years,
yes,
rising up to the rank of a Brigadier General.
Yes.
Tell me how disturbed you are by what is going on in the country today. I mean, the Boko Haram insurgency, looking at the abduction of those over 200 girls in Chibok.
Yeah. I think everybody is very disturbed. I am equally disturbed. I am concerned, very concerned, because this is one very animalistic expression that is coming from our country. This is a peace-loving country, a religious country, where Christians and Muslims pray every day. Even the pagans, they pray. And nobody would imagine that this level of dehumanization can come up in a country like this, that we claim to fear God, to serve God.
Did you ever foresee Nigeria facing this kind of insurgency?
It's never. It's unimaginable. That's the reason why I'm saying this is a praying country. So to think about this level of demonism is terrible, because the Boko Haram is just for the blues. And I think this is one of the reasons why Nigeria was like caught unawares. We never expected things of this
Yeah, could it also be the reason why the military is probably having difficulty with having to put this down? That
actually the military is tied between two extremes. First and foremost, you don't use your army to do that level of IS operation that is almost like going to war. The police could.
You don't think this is
like
war?
This. That's what I'm saying now. This, at the beginning, I'm sure the army thought it was just one of those things that we face at. I mean, a lot of people were saying, oh, this is the end of Boko Haram. Oh, this is the end. Well, the more we think it's the end of Boko Haram, the more the people come out with so much force, fury, to demonstrate a high capacity for evil. And this is one of the reasons why maybe they say, oh, they have more firepower than the Nigerian military.
But do you think that could be the case?
This is
because
not likely to be true. But like I told you when we were discussing, and I said, when you are fighting in your house, your level of combativeness will be different from when you're fighting in the street. Because if you do what you're going to do in the street in your house, you may damage so many things that you will regret you did. And of course, you are aware. The army did very little. And people say, oh, they are handling it with kids' glove. At the same time, there were people who came out and said, oh, even the little the army did was too much. And some said they're going to take the chief of army staff to court. To international criminal court. Yeah. Well, the same people who said the army was not forceful enough, the army was not doing enough, another group of people in the same class of people in the same country are saying the army, oh, they've killed our people. Genocide. So, you know, there's this balance the army is playing with. But I know that once given the right command, because the army works under command, I believe our president is humane and he really think that we should go use maximum force.
But some people have said...
We use...
Yeah.
You're supposed to use the minimum force to achieve that objective of curbing Boko Haram. But the way it is now, the whole world is screaming.
Because it would appear the minimal force is not working.
It's not working. That is the reason why I am sure the army will do something that might be between minimum and maximum force.
Don't you think it's an indictment on the country's military that we're having to invite the international community? We're having to invite, you know, the U.S. to send experts, Britain and the others. They're sending in military experts to help us. It's not an indictment.
Was it an indictment when Nigeria was invited to assist in international military operations? It's not an indictment in any country. In any case, if you look at it, the coming in of international forces will moderate, first, the action. It will not be the action of the Nigerian army anymore. Nobody's going to scream. Like when it was happening in Afghanistan, nobody said, oh, the army was too hard on the insurgents. Nobody said so. Now it's going to be a teamwork. Nobody's going to hold Nigeria responsible. You're not going to take Nigeria to any international court. Now it's going to be a world action and reaction to the activity of this group of people whom the world has come to one conclusion, that this is a demonstration of evil and must be curbed. I believe that with this teamwork, the optimum action, military action, and of course we are not all at the same level of military development.
That's
you
quite
can't
true.
compare Nigeria with American military deployment.
Quite true.
You understand? So we now have experts coming in to moderate the activities of the Nigerian military. These experts are coming, and they have come, and I can tell you, with the technology deployed, the satellite, the views, all the things that are going on, you're going to see very positive results. And of course, these insurgents were smart. They know that the army was going to change its style and come heavily on them. What did they do? They picked these girls. They are now like human shields.
So you think these girls are being used as human shields?
Oh yes, with these girls with them, can you shoot into there? Can you bomb the place? Can you do anything in that place? No, because if you do, they'll kill those girls and they will say you did. If you shoot into their group now, whatever way you do, those girls, they might hurt them and claim you killed them.
So how do you think this issue can be resolved? How do you think the country can get these girls, the government can get these girls free? Especially when you consider the video released by the Boko Haram the other day, you know. I
can tell you one thing. I have been a very sad man because I never had a proper perception. What do the girls look like now? There were stories filtered in that these girls were being sexually abused, used like sex slaves. Some person I read somewhere where they said an average girl has to sleep with about 15 men. This is too brutal for any parents to imagine.
But it's not impossible that may have happened to some of these.
It may have happened, that's what I'm saying. And if it is happening, and you don't see the girls, you don't know their state of health, you don't know their state physical and emotionally. But with if you look at the video, if it is the correct video, that it is not stage managed,
and of course it could
appearances and they prepare them especially for this occasion, just to show the world that look at the girls, we haven't done anything evil to them. They are happy. They are singing, reading Quran or Islamic verses, and they are happy to be Muslims. They are with us. Although there are conflicting statements coming from the same source.
Exactly.
In one word, they say, oh, they are going to be Muslims. We'll not give them to you again. We're going to marry them out. Marry them out is a very mild statement. But when you tell me you're going to sell them, again, that again is not a very good language. There is some hatred, some evil intended when you say you want to sell them out as slaves, as sex
I have to ask you this. Do you think the government should negotiate with Boko Haram? Because some people have been calling for negotiation.
Yeah. I don't know.
Boko Haram wants negotiation.
I am not a military tactician or whatever, but I don't know which government ever negotiating with terrorists. We don't. I don't think it's advisable. Or else, it will be the next tool. You know, in Nigeria today, we were negotiating with kidnappers, and of course, it became worse. Everybody now left armed robbery. Armed robbery is not the in thing now. Yes, the in thing now is kidnapping, because they say, okay, they don't kill us, they just negotiate with us. At the wars, they will negotiate with us. No.
And if Nigeria should choose to negotiate with these guys,
if you choose to negotiate,
it could get worse.
You are setting up what you're setting up where you will not be able to continue.
But how do you think the country can get these girls free?
But I think the country is on the path of getting these girls free. Because if you look at it, there are things that are happening, but the army and all the forces that have gathered will not tell you exactly what is happening,
Which is quite true.
Something is going on. I think Nigerians should be prayerful, because I believe that the prayers of Nigeria contributed to what is happening today. Now, if it is true that they brought those guys out, since they brought the pictures out, I've been a bit happy. I saw their faces. I don't think they are passing through anything that is more than them. And I thank God for, I thank God that the spirit, the demonic spirit, did not lead these men to kill those girls. If they abuse them sexually, well, that is history for us to read. It's not part of our history. But I think that government is doing all it takes, all it will take, and I believe. I read the lips of my president. I read the lips of the chief of army staff. I know they are not sleeping over it.
So you're obviously not one of those who say they're not doing enough.
No. Because you see, you know that when you are watching a football playing, the man there, you will think he's not doing enough. And sometimes when he kicks the ball, you say, oh, he should have kicked it this way.
Not until you get into the field.
Until you get into the field.
Exactly.
Yes. So I believe
but you can understand why Nigerians are frustrated.
Yeah, but I am not blaming those who have
28 days.
Yeah, I am not blaming them. I'm not blaming them. I was worried, and I am worried. I believe that their prayers are working. They should continue to pray for the government, for the leadership, particularly those who are genuinely involved, not those who created it, because I still believe there are Nigerians who created this level of demonism.
Let me ask you this final question before we close this discussion.
Yeah.
What do you think at this very moment? Can you just hazard a guess what the Nigerian military would be doing to get these girls free? And if it's not doing that, what would you want it to be doing at this moment?
You know what? One of the beauty of war is the element of surprise. How can I tell you what I imagine that the Nigerian army is doing? How does that help the efforts of the military? I can't tell you, because element of surprise is the best approach to winning the war. If we start discussing this is what the army is likely to do,
these guys might be watching.
Those guys will go through the same appreciation and say, okay, if they do this, we do this. If they pass through this flank, we would go through this flank. You leave the army to do its job. The army is trained. This army has worked internationally and rated very highly. Very, very highly.
You have confidence in the army. Anyway,
I do have confidence in them. Not because I was one of them, but I can tell you that they will be able, with the assistance we are getting, because even though we have the men who are bold and courageous and tough, because you don't know what they go through. When you are in the war front, when you are faced with people, mind you, we are fighting people who are ready to die.
Unfortunately, that's quite true.
We are fighting a man who says, I'm ready to die. He's ready to die. But you're just going to keep the peace. The Nigerian army is supposed to curtail the SSCs and maintain the peace. Get those guys out. And of course, you know, in Nigeria, we always say no victor, no vanquish. If these people can come out of their nest and listen to the voice of reasoning that the whole world is in, they release those girls. And I'm sure they will release those girls in order to avoid the excesses that might be unleashed on them.
It's on that note we have to end it.
You don't need to end it. I would like to take this advantage to say, just like we did when government was trying to solve the problem of the Niger Delta, these girls have been emotionally brutalized. Even if they were not touched already, everybody believed that these girls have been abused excessively. So if you know the family that the girl came from, tomorrow, and your brother, your son wants to go and get married, they say, oh, those people, they must be carrying diseases. 15 men were sleeping with one of them in one day, and of course they stayed there for 30 days, so you can imagine. They begin to count the number of times they must have made love. And so government owes these young girls a duty to protect them. Today we don't know the faces of many militants. We only know their leaders. Today, if those girls come out, this government must say, don't make a show of them. Keep them away from the circulation and let us hear that government is sending them abroad so that you can, what they call, what this word they use for people who are being weaned out of Indian hemp and cocaine, so that they can shield out.
And get proper rehabilitation.
And get proper rehabilitation, reorientation, and the medical follow-up. Because those men are not careful at all.
Not at all.
They will sleep with them without condom. They will pregnate some. They will infest many. And these girls need to be covered and protected. Let them go out. The next time they are coming into their community, nobody will recognize that they were the same girls.
That's a very good one. I hope the government is listening. Retired Brigadier General.
That is if you let it go through.
Yeah, it definitely will go through. Thank you very much, Retired Brigadier General Dr. Ovaje, for coming on the program. And thank you very much for your thoughts. Well, what can I say? We want these girls back and alive, no matter what it takes. One more thing, we want the insurgency brought to an end. At least that's not asking too much. Well, that's it on the program. If you want to watch it again, you can do so by simply going to our website, tv360nigeria.com. You'll find the program and lots more there. You can also watch us on YouTube by subscribing to our YouTube channel. The address is youtube.com/TV360Nigeria. Follow us on Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria, and you could like us on Facebook. The address is facebook.com/TV360 online. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @TV360 online. We thank you very much for watching. I am DEJI360. I'll see you again next week.